Welcome, ladies, to the True Love Secrets Revealed. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to Kimmy Seltzer. Kimmy is a dating expert and a makeover expert, a public speaker, and she also hosts retreats and so many other things. Kimmy has been helping women and men for many, many years, almost 2 decades, to thrive in love and life. Welcome, Kimmy. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait for our conversation. Like every time I talk to you, it's like we talk because it's like we talk about the same language, and especially like the subject about meeting people in real life. It's something that everybody wants to know about these days.
Right. It's like the unicorn. Does
Yeah.
it exist nowadays, dating in real life? Or it's a mythical creature that was once roaming and now it's gone? So, what can you tell us about dating in real life?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because everybody wants to, but nobody knows where to go or how to be or what to do. And people are sick of the dating apps. They want to have that real human connection. And especially if you're dating in the second act, as I call it, or if you're over 40 years old, we all remember the days where we used to do that, where we would like actually dial the phone, call them up, people up, and actually talk to people. But, you know, those days are gone. And there's so many beautiful parts of modern dating that can be really awesome, but there's also challenges with it. So it's just really understanding and navigating what that's all about, because the truth of the matter is, your next guy could be right next to you at the coffee shop. He could be right across the way at the dog park, because everyone's like, well, where to go? Where to go? I'm like, everywhere. They're everywhere. But it does take strategy and intentionality. So that's what I really love helping people and inspiring people with.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, they are everywhere. They are everywhere. So, talking about strategizing, what are some strategies that you could share for a woman that is dating in her 40s and maybe she's a little bit rusty, like you said, she has been maybe married or in a long term relationship? Where should she start?
Were you going to ask something
So
else?
many questions.
We'll take one at a time. I know, and I have so many answers. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I actually, I mean, obviously, I'd be amiss to not share my story a little bit and how I got inspired to do all this. Because, like you, I'm a trained mental health person. I was a therapist for many, many years. And, before I got into all this, I used to believe that you had to really help yourself by working from the inside out. And I really believe that. And I still believe that the inside job is huge and important, but it wasn't until like my own story happened that I realized, when it comes to meeting people, especially in the real world, it's not just the inside, it's the outside as well, and how we put ourselves out there. So yes, there is strategy and like places to go. But before we even talk about that, let's talk about you listening, everybody, us, because it's not about the man, it's about us. And when we look in the mirror and we say we're sexy, we got it going on, we have our cab light on, that's when the energy comes to us like a magnet. And, way back when I was married and I lived in Chicago, I was living a very traditional life, being a therapist. I had a couple of kids, a dog, a picket fence, and, everything was going on as planned, as the good Midwest life has it. And until one day, we just picked up and we moved across the country. We land here in La La Land. I'm in Los Angeles, and that's where the record stopped. My traditional life as I knew it, poof, just disappeared, because we ended up doing what all the other people here do in LA. We get a divorce. I'm joking. I blame LA, but it would have happened anyway, regardless. But there I was, all alone in this like new place without any friends, and all my friends were back in Chicago, and they were all married, so they didn't even understand what I was going through. And I didn't know really how to put myself out there. And I remember doing what I taught and I believed to be true. And I went to therapy myself. I worked on myself, and people would say, Kimmy, when are you going to go out there and date? And I'd say, oh, you know what? I'm just working on myself. Right. Cut to 8 months later, Kimmy, when are you going to go out there? I said, oh, I'm still working on myself. But what was I doing? Right? Like rocking in a chair, reading books, going to therapy. It ended up becoming an analysis paralysis, and I was not taking any action. And strategically, you asked about like, what are strategies? It's about action. It's not enough to think it and know it. It's to do it. I wasn't doing anything because why? I was scared. And, it wasn't until one day I really looked in the mirror and I was horrified at what I saw. So I was not wearing this bright color and I was in all black. I was still wearing my nursing bras. I wasn't nursing any longer. I was a disheveled mess. I mean, I just looked like a frumpy mom, to be honest. And it just hit me like a lightning bolt. I'm like, what the heck happened to me? So I did something very untraditional. I went shopping therapy. I mean, this is what got me into doing everything that I'm doing. And so I go to the store and this personal shopper, she's watching me. And what am I'm putting all black clothes in my arms again. I think I'm up leveling, right? But no, I'm doing the same thing that I did. And she's like, I've been watching you and I really think you should try this on. And she holds up a red dress and it was like the color of your top, bright red. And it looked like 3 sizes too small. And I said, that's really nice of you, but that's not my color and that's not my size. She says, honey, that is your color. That is your size. Try it on. Just like that. And it was like she hit me over the head with that red dress. And I call it my red dress moment. And this is really important because you asked about strategy and how to wake up, right? Like what your red dress moment is the time that you really stop numbing out and you wake up and you start taking action. And so I heard it so loud and clear from that woman. And I took the red dress and I'm like, you know what? She's right. And I slipped it on and I twirled around like Cinderella and I look in the mirror again and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a princess. I know it was really like that kind of Cinderella moment when I viscerally felt different in my body. It was so different than just thinking it. And so I bought the red dress and I walked out into the world and guess what happened? All these men started checking me out. And I swear I took it upon myself to wear that red dress everywhere. I wore it to the market. I wore it to the coffee shop. Talking about intentionality, right? Like you asked about. So embedded in my story, as you're hearing, I'm giving you some tips and strategy because it wasn't enough to think it. It was to put on my costume and go practice being seen in it.
Right.
And, this was the biggest surprise, and you listening to this will probably relate to it. I actually didn't even like being checked out. I thought I wanted it. But the whole time, I realized that the black clothes was a cloak to keep me invisible from men. It was because I was scared. And I was like, who would love a frumpy mom with 2 young kids? It was like this limiting belief that was going on in my brain. But it was subconscious. I didn't realize it at the time. So once I got used to being seen, then I started liking it. And it was just a skill that I had to practice. And then I had to learn how to flirt. And then I had to learn how to talk to the aliens. Like, there were different skills that I had to, learn along the way. So that's something that I'm really passionate about. And in that moment, I really realized there was a symbiotic relationship between the outer and the inner when it came to confidence. That it's not superficial. How we project and how we market ourselves, it's directly correlated to how we feel inside. And when you get that positive feedback and that validation, and then you start feeling good about yourself, that's all it is, right? And so if you're feeling a little frumpy and you're not even like thinking about flirting, or you're not putting the nonverbal signals out there to come hither, then the man will not come hither. It's us, it's not them. And that's the thing that kind of flipped the script for me. So now I work from the outside in. I work on body language. I am an image consultant. So I do makeovers, as you indicated, because that is what really helps people. And when I see women getting dressed up. And I just had a retreat where every woman just felt like fabulous, and they saw themselves in these new looks in the photos, and they got their hair and their makeup done. They acted differently. And because of that, that gave them the confidence, right? So in sum, the strategy all has to do with the intention of putting yourself out there in different ways. The way you dress, it's your body language, it's the way you talk, it's the way we also earn people too, and the way we express ourselves. So obviously I go inward and I work on other things like emotional intelligence and social intelligence, but the style intelligence is where a lot of people don't even focus on. So those three things is part of the strategy. And all of that to say, that's my formula. It's called the Charisma Quotient, and that's the name of my podcast, blah, blah, blah. But it is the foundation of which I work and now that I help people with.
Wow. That's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing it. And so relatable. So relatable.
Well,
Yeah.
and I answered the question intentionally as a story because we remember stories. I could list a bunch of strategies, but
Right.
even when I give some strategies, what you'll remember is story. And actually it's meta to what I teach. And a lot of when it comes to flirting and attraction, it's the way we talk to people. It's one of the workshops that I have about the conversations. It's not just enough to be friendly, but are you being flirty? Are you telling stories? Because that's how we connect with each other, are the stories, because there's emotion behind it and we relate to that.
I love that. I love that. I'm passionate about that, about all the social dynamics. It's so amazing. And so, Kimmy, you talked about so many things, but I will pick some.
Yeah, please do, because I'll keep talking.
No, no,
Yeah.
you can keep talking if you want to. This is your but
Get more
what
narrow.
about body language? I really would
Yeah.
like to have a little bit of fun with you on that area of body language. Do you have any particular ways that women can move their body or signs that they can give out to a man to show that they are interested, to flirt in a way? Do you have any particular things, or would you mind teaching us some of them?
Yeah, well, it's one of the things I'm so passionate about. I love body language, because research shows that 93% of communication is nonverbal. So what you say isn't even as important as how you show up and how you present. So you could have the most clever line, you could have like all these things kind of like in your head of what you're wanting to say. But the truth of the matter is all of that doesn't matter if your body language isn't open and flirty and fun. And so when I do workshops, I talk a lot about different zones. We all have different body zones that we can think about. And I will just start and end with the face, because the face is the first thing that we all see, right?
Wow.
And with that, it's so simple, is eye contact and smiling. I know that sounds so like grammar school. It's like, oh, well, that's, I didn't come on here to learn how to, flirt by just making eye contact. But I can't tell you how many times I see people out there and that no one's looking at each other. No one's smiling at each other. And if you just wake up and you're aware of the people around you, and not just smiling, but really also noticing who's noticing you. There's a lot of time, like I know in my own story, I was not comfortable being seen, right? So like, even if I saw a guy checking me out, I would like look away, So it's like, what is your comfort zone in accepting other people's body language too? So it's twofold, right? And so, what you ladies all have to understand is that, because I actually work with men as well. So I do a lot of co-ed stuff and a lot of my retreats are co-ed, is that men are more scared of us than we are of them. I know that surprises you, but they are. They are so deathly scared of being rejected. And now in today's world, especially, they don't want to, feel like a creep. They say that a lot. I don't want to be creepy. So we have to make it easier for them so that we give signals that we're open to it. But if not, and we have kind of the RBFs on, can I say the resting bitch face on here? If not, you can edit that out. But
Yeah.
that's real. I can't, I go out there and I see people. I'm kind of like the wing gal where I go out with people and I teach them how to flirt, and we go and shopping and we have this whole transformation. And I work with a lot of high achievers, and I'm not going to lie, high achievers tend to be very serious and outcome driven. So the lack of play and the lack of fun is so present with high achievers. So just giving out those signals that you want to play, and however that is, it could be just like in the body, a relaxation about you, something that's very comfortable, that feels inviting, but also exuding femininity. And that's something that I teach a lot. And it's not something that you can necessarily read or study because that's all cerebral. It's something that you feel. And that's why I always encourage people to really practice things and experience what that feels like, because it doesn't even make sense to learn how to be in your body in a cerebral way, right? And so that's a big part of just teaching people how to be more flirty. Is it's all happening in the body.
Right, right. Yes, you're so right. It seems so simple, smile and make eye contact. But as you said, we have a hard time doing it. And
Yeah.
mostly when we are, let's say we are at a game and we really like a guy, we find the guy to be really attractive. That's when we really get shy. It's hard. It's really hard. So, but your suggestion is to practice, practice, practice until it becomes second nature.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a muscle, right? It's like going to the gym. Your social muscle gets atrophied just like a real muscle. And the
Right.
only way to strengthen it is to practice it until you become it. And then it just becomes natural. When you first had your job, for instance, you probably didn't feel very confident. And how did you get more confident? Well, you kept doing it over and over and over again. And now it's second nature. And honestly, that's how I believe all the flirt and dating skills are about. That's why I'm so big on teaching skills. And especially later in life, a lot of people struggle with even knowing how to date, even understanding what that means, because most people, especially if you are older, I'll just say like over 40, we came from a day where you dated for the sake of getting a boyfriend who then you get married to. Well, anything goes nowadays, right? Like we have all kinds of situations, we have all kinds of relationships, and you're different. So you may want different things now that it's later in life. And so even with each decade, I see different goals with that. But in the end, the dating skills are all the same. It doesn't matter what age you are. So that's what's so beautiful. And you can override bad habits. So for instance, this is how interesting it gets. So I've broken it down to different archetypes of women. And if you actually,
Oh,
I just thought of this, I could share with your audience. I have an archetype quiz if you want to know what archetype you are. But there's one that's called the narcissist magnet. It's very near and dear to me as I used to be one. And if you realize that narcissists are everywhere, but knowing that you're doing something that attracts that, breaking it down to even different skills. So knowing that a lot of narcissist magnets are people pleasers, for instance, and put way more focus on other people than themselves. Well, what if you learned that through the process of dating to just practice the skill of letting men earn you by sharing more about yourself? Like just that simple thing, like that's a skill. Because if you're always used to asking other people questions and not enough of sharing yourself and contributing, then that's your journey. Like there was a woman I was working on this with, and she just could not crack the code of the narcissist. She's like, I don't understand why I keep attracting them. It's like the same guy in a different costume. Every time I unzip the costume, he's there again. And I said, well, they're going to keep coming back and they're going to keep being that guy. It's because you need to do something different. And I remember going to the bar once and, so she was kind of trying to understand what it is about her. And this guy sits next to us. And he was very good looking, the typical guy that a lot of women would be attracted to. I'll just say that. And he had the charisma, he was funny and all that stuff. So I'm just watching her, right? I see her getting all excited and like, but yet during the whole conversation, not once did she share anything about herself. And she just kept like giggling at all his jokes and laughing and doing everything that she normally does. So he goes to the bathroom and she's like, isn't he great? Aren't I doing a great job? Okay. I'm like, can I ask you a question? She's like, what? I'm like, what does he know about you? Right. She's like, well, I nothing. Well, he didn't ask. I said, yeah, but you're not contributing either. So here, when he comes back from the bathroom, I want you to do something. Just share a little snippet of maybe something that happened to you yesterday or just something that's interesting. So she comes back and she does it. And typical, he doesn't listen. He's looking around. He's staring at the other waitress. And then he brings the story back to him. It was classic, right? And it was like a light bulb went off. And she's like, wow, I didn't even realize that, because she was getting kind of snowed with the other stuff. So again, like these are just skills to practice. And what I encourage people to do is don't get into a relationship till you've mastered the skill. And then you move on to the next skill. And that will break your habit and attract who you want this time around.
Wow. I really, really think it's genius how you mixed something that is very deep, actually, with something that is fun.
Yeah.
I think I applaud you. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
Are you going to be, that's going to be your gift, the quiz to find out your archetype?
You know what? But let's do it. Let's do
that. Do you mind?
Let's do that. No, I love that. I haven't given that out in a while.
I'm going to write it down, so just in case you forget, I'll remind you. I know you have a lot going on, so.
No, that is great. And then that way, what you can do.
I mean, you can give the other one too, if you want to. The one
I mean, oh my gosh. If you want to, I could give both.
Yeah.
Quizzes, and they could just
we're feeling very generous. I'm feeling very generous with your stuff.
I'm very generous, so let's do it. I could do both, and that way you can know what kind of flirt you are, and also what kind of dater you are, and what archetype. Because once you know your archetype, what's great is that you get a kind of a book of just a little blurb of what you are, and then little hacks on how to get over your archetype, basically, so it'll give
valuable.
Yeah, I'm happy to give that.
That's awesome. So I have one last question for you, and it's such my girlish question.
I love that.
Do you have, like, I remember when I went back in the day when I went on my 200 dates in 2 years, I had my outfits, my different things that I wear.
Yeah.
Do you have a suggestion for a few outfits that the ladies should have that are kind of like classic, like must-haves? That do you have something like that?
Yeah, well, here I go with the gifts. I do have a style guide that I can also give people, but look, I'm very scientific in the way I approach clothes. I don't because I'm an image consultant, what I like to do is understand what your body type is, and then I suggest different styles. I want to say that whatever your style is, it is about the intentionality behind it. And so what I call all these outfits are dating costumes, because like you heard in my story, I came from my red dress moment. My red dress became my costume. It's kind of like Halloween, right? Like when you dress up and you act differently, right? And you see, and there's science behind this. Actually, they found that the brain shifts when you wear certain clothes, and it makes you perform a different way. So it's not like airy-fairy weird stuff. There's science behind it. And so if you're very intentional, and once you know your body type, then you can know what cuts work for you and what clothes to stay away from. But what every woman should have is somewhere in their wardrobe is a dress, number one, and number two, something red. So I will say, given all that it's like specific to each body type and what that is. And the reason being is that men are attracted to red. It makes them, it's like a stop sign. It makes them stop on your profile. It makes them stop in the streets and look at you. The research shows that it has to do with fertility. So it's not actually just like in our heads. They can't help it. So it would behoove you in your profile, if you're going online, especially, to have something red in there. And then dress, I get a lot of pushback. So if this is you and I'm like, oh, I can't wear a dress or dresses aren't me, definitely contact me because I can help you with that. I've had many women tell me they hate dresses and then come to love them. And it's simply just understanding your body type and what works on you. But, a woman in a dress, it signifies femininity. You walk different in a dress. You exude that kind of sex appeal, and men just love it. But more importantly, you are different. And, it's like, you walk different in a pair of heels and a dress than you do flip-flops and shorts, right? Like it has to do with our body language in the dress as well. So for all those reasons, those two things definitely work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So something red and a dress.
A dress. Just keep it simple. Yes.
Sundress, and the little black dress, or like in your case, a little red dress.
Red dress.
You know what?
Oh, I was going to say, just make sure the red is the right red for you, because there's, orange reds, there's blue reds, like I have more of a pink red on and you have more of an orange red on. So like all of this plays well. It's just understanding what works for your skin tone.
Right. You know what the image that came to me, when you go to I live here in Vegas, so a lot of restaurants and hotels have pictures of, I don't know, Bono's hat or, jacket. I imagine you having Kimmy Seltzer's red dress at the
red dress, yeah. I know. Well, every time I speak, because I enjoy speaking on stage, you always see me in a red dress because it's become the story, right? And actually I did a TEDx talk, I think about a year ago, and I wore red and I told my story because it does signify the action. It signifies waking up, and for all the reasons we talked about today, it's putting a little spark, a little fire under you to really like put yourself out there. That's basically really what it's all about.
It's fun. It's invigorating.
Yes.
It's vital. Yes. I love. Thank you, Kimmy. You delivered again. This is awesome. I can't wait for the ladies to get their hands in your session. It's so helpful. Would you like to say anything else? Like there is anything that you would like to share before we finish?
Well, I will just say that, I think this can all be overwhelming, and listening to, all these beautiful experts talking, and even the things that we talked about today, just pick little things that you can work on, and that will add to the bigger win overall. It just chunk it down, do things that are measurable. So for instance, if you have a hard time making eye contact, then just for 2 weeks, work on eye contact, go say, okay, for 3 times a week, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm just going to practice making eye contact. So make it a game for yourself. Say, okay, I'm going to count how many blue eyes I see, just to make it like easier for yourself. The more, again, you build the confidence slowly with these little skills or these little mini transactions, as I call it, that's when your confidence will start rising. And then like my clients, they're irrecognizable because not because, I did anything. It's that they did it, right? Like they put themselves out there. They started feeling something different. And they're like, oh my gosh, there's men everywhere. And so the people who never thought any men were like, there were no good men out there, I always like would hear that when they come to me. Then they come and say, oh my God, I'm seeing men everywhere, but it's them. It's just them. They're waking up, they're aware, and they're bringing it in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it. Thank you, Kimmy, and good luck tomorrow on your master class.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.